Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to a quick video for you here. I wanted to talk about a correlation that I noticed at a certain point in my life when it came to the combination of meditation in isolation in particular. Not just meditation in and of itself, but certain forms of meditation that I had done when I was pretty reserved and I didn't spend a lot of time around other people. And I didn't spend a lot of time looking at external sort of like media, like outside. So I was just like, I was very internal. I was very eternal, forever lasting. Just kidding. Very finite. I meditated a lot on the shortness of life, the finitude of being, and I feel like that fucked with my head quite a bit. But I don't want to get too far off track. I wanted to talk about the correlation that exists that existed for me at a certain point when it came to that sense of isolation when I was spending lots of time in meditation, and that led to social retardation, a little bit, like mild to moderate forms of social disability. I wouldn't say disability, that's a stretch, but I did feel like my social skills were not what they once were. And it is a muscle. It functioned in a similar way, like the socialization and being able to play the social game well. A lot of it is like a muscle, and it'll atrophy if you don't use it frequently enough. And I think that I've talked a little bit about meditation on this channel and my own experiences with it, and a bit of the good, a bit of the bad. I haven't really gone too in depth about all of it, but I do think that I benefited a great deal from that time. But I also think I developed some pathology. And I probably broke my brain in some ways that I wouldn't say permanently, but I did experience some ongoing issues with functionality of my psychology that I haven't fully recovered from just yet. And I don't know. I think meditation's awesome. I think it's there's such a broad statement. Right? Because meditation, it comes in so many different forms. There are so many different mantras. There's so many different things so many ways to define the word meditation. Like just reflecting on all sorts of things, like the shortness of life. Again, for example, and trying to be more honest about priorities with respect to the shortness of life, for example. Because we tend to not do a very good job of that especially in the early years of our lives, when we sort of just kind of take life as it comes, and it's just, I don't know, we feel more just kind of going with the flow. We feel more passive, generally, when it comes to choosing specific directions and choosing, very, very specific sources of lasting purpose, like committing to things. The previous video I talked a little bit about that as well. The fear, the reasonable, in my estimation, the understandable fear of committing to various paths. And because there's limitation in that, you have to sacrifice freedom for the sake of commitment to, whether it be a person, an occupation, a vocation. You know what I'm saying? You gotta sacrifice freedom for the sake of progression towards some long-term avenues. Because if you don't do that, then you'll be a feather in the wind, and you'll get sucked into an air vent or something. You get ground up. But yeah, socialization is important when it comes to being a person in civilization, because we're very social beings. And that's something I've been thinking about a lot too. I'm just going to ramble, as I typically do. Socialization is like one of the most natural things ever. We've been doing it for a very long time. We've been doing it before we were what we are. Before we were Homo sapiens, before we were primates. Socialization it's been around for a while, and it's become ever increasingly complex, especially in the last, 1,000 years, 100 years, but thousands of years. It's even in the last 100 years, though, it's gotten more intricate in many ways. And it's become a lot easier to overthink all of the various ways in which it's become so complex. But yes, socialization is one of the most natural things in the world. Meditation, on the other hand, meditation in isolation, that's one of the least natural things, I think. And that's not to say that it's bad. Obviously, there are plenty of things that are perfectly natural that have been occurring for millions of years, hundreds of thousands of years when it comes to humans, Homo sapiens, that are really not so great. If you look back at human history and what's occurring today, currently, all the time on this beautiful planet, this blue and green little speck in space, this is fucking terrible. There's a lot of things that are perfectly natural that occur every day that I really wish was not occurring for very good reason. Like moral, ethical assessments of human behavior, human nature, like terrible, horrible. And vice versa. There's plenty of unnatural things like this, this device that I'm speaking to, this microphone that I'm speaking into, that is not without its benefit. There's plenty of, and I think meditation, many forms of it, is similar in that way. It's not natural for a living being to be able to reflect on its shortness of its life. The shortness of an individual being's life, it shouldn't be able to do that. I mean, if you believe, it depends on what you believe about reality. If you believe that we come from primates that came from less complex things, then it's clear that being able to really have an appreciation for the shortness of an individual's existence, that's unnatural as fuck. If you believe that we came from some sort of higher thing, that it was a more deliberate sort of, then words will always be, what does natural even mean at that point, right? I don't know. Yeah, maybe by many estimations, when it comes to like the more metaphysical stuff, maybe existences that are the most complex are also the most ideal, the most, but that wouldn't make them natural in the sense of, well, everything comes from nature. Everything's natural. Socialization. I want to get back on track. Everything's natural. Again, definitions are complex. I don't know. Social retardation occurred inside of my brain when I spent a good amount of time in isolation and in meditation, various forms of meditation, in attempting to transcend many aspects of the social game. The desperation for validation. You know what I'm saying? I rhyme a lot. I think that's pathology that I've developed in my brain. I was probably meditating on rhymes all the times, and now I cannot stop. It's kind of autistic from what I've heard. But I find that the more I socialize, the more it just becomes perfectly, the flow state occurs, and it feels really good. It feels effortless. It's like performing a very sort of a natural sort of task, like running. It can feel very robotic. You can feel very detached and dissociated while you do it. But if you get into that flow state, you feel alive. You feel like this is something that Well, you're not even trying to pick it apart, to dissect it, to try and figure out what this feeling is, because you're in it. You're feeling it. And it's a beautiful thing to be in. And I've been cutting back quite a bit on meditation, and I've been increasing socialization, and it's been good. I think it's been helping a lot with being less delusional. Again, head in the clouds, feet off the ground. My feet have been feeling more and more firmly planted onto the ground, and I can still enjoy the clouds. I can still look up at them and appreciate them, but I don't feel as though I'm caught in, to where I'm not able to look down at being more realistically. There's a balance to be found. I think delusion's awesome. I'm very delusional. I'm just trying to find more healthy forms of delusion, more reasonable forms of delusion, like the belief that my life means something, which is that's a good if it's a delusion, it's a good one. That's a good delusion. You don't want to convince yourself that your life means more than it does, though, for some reasons, because then disillusion will occur. If you feel like you're the Messiah or something, then you're gonna be sorely mistaken. That shit's gonna hurt when you come crashing down from that fucking delusion that you're some sort of but yeah, just spending time with loved ones, spending time with friends, spending time doing things with people that you care about. That's good stuff. And meditation has its place, but if you do it too often, you risk becoming detached from some more realistic stuff. Those are my thoughts in this video.